They say history is written by the victors, but China's story was carved in stone, blood, and time itself. For over 5,000 years, this land has witnessed the rise and fall of kings, the birth of empires, and the rebirth of a civilization that refused to die. Long before skyscrapers touched the sky, long before the world spoke the language of technology and trade, China was already building walls that could be seen from space. The Great Wall, a symbol not just of defense, but of determination. A wall that told the world, we will not fall easily. In the cradle of the Yellow River, humanity found its rhythm. Here, the Shaya dynasty, the first recorded empire, began a chain of rulers that would last for millennia. The Shang and Zhou dynasties brought bronze, writing, and the concept of heaven's mandate, the belief that every ruler was chosen by divine right, but could lose it if they ruled unjustly. This idea would shape Chinese politics and philosophy for centuries. But China's true golden age began with a man named Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor. He unified the warring states under one flag, built the first version of the Great Wall, and left behind an army of terracotta soldiers to guard him in the afterlife. Yet his quest for immortality brought him death. Power came swiftly in China, and so did its downfall. As dynasties rose and crumbled, the Han, Tang, Song, Ming, and Qing each left behind a mark that changed not only China, but the world. The Han gave birth to the Silk Road, a network of trade that connected Asia to Europe, carrying silk, spices, and stories across continents. The Tang and Song dynasties lit the flame of innovation, printing, gunpowder, and the compass, inventions that would later change the course of human civilization. But every empire that rises must face its storm. For China, the storm came from the West. The 19th century brought not progress but humiliation. European powers, armed with cannons and greed, carved their way into Chinese soil. The Opium Wars broke China's spirit, the mighty Qing Empire forced to its knees, its ports opened by foreign powers, its people enslaved by addiction and exploitation. The century of humiliation had begun a dark chapter when the Middle Kingdom was no longer the center of the world, but a pawn in others' games. Yet, history has a strange way of balancing itself. From the ashes of dynasties rose revolution. In 1911, the last emperor, a child, was dethroned, and China declared itself a republic under Sun Yat-sen. The dream of a modern united nation had begun, but it was far from peaceful. Civil wars tore the country apart between nationalists and communists, between the old and the new. Then came the invasion of Japan, a nightmare that would scar generations. Entire cities burned, millions perished, and the world turned its eyes away. But amidst the smoke and blood, the spirit of China refused to die. When the dust settled after World War II, a new force emerged, led by Mao Zedong. In 1949, Mao stood atop Tiananmen Square and declared, "The Chinese people have stood up." It was not just a sentence, it was a warning and a promise. Under Mao's rule, China transformed overnight from feudal poverty to industrial ambition. The Great Leap Forward and the Cultural Revolution sought to forge a new society, but at a terrible cost. Millions died in famine, persecution, and chaos. The dream of progress was drowned in the pain of its people. And yet from those ashes, the phoenix of China rose once more. In the late 1970s, a quiet man named Deng Xiaoping changed everything. He opened China's doors to the world, not with guns, but with trade. "It doesn't matter whether a cat is black or white," he said, "as long as it catches mice." It was the birth of a new philosophy, pragmatic communism, capitalism with Chinese characteristics. Factories multiplied, cities exploded in growth. Within a few decades, China transformed from a struggling agrarian society into the workshop of the world. The skyline of Shanghai became a symbol of human willpower, a forest of steel rising from the soil of revolution. But power always comes at a price. As China grew, so did the questions. Was it freedom or control, prosperity or surveillance? The Tiananmen Square protests of 1989 revealed the tension between the government and its people. The world watched in silence as the tanks rolled in, a reminder that progress, in China, would always have boundaries. Yet, no one could deny what followed: the fastest economic rise in human history. In just 40 years, China lifted over 800 million people out of poverty. It built the world's largest manufacturing economy, sent rockets to space, and created megacities that never sleep. The dragon had awakened, and it was not just roaring, it was rebuilding the global order. The Belt and Road Initiative stretched China's influence across Asia, Africa, and Europe, a modern Silk Road of power and partnerships. Its technology companies began to rival Silicon Valley. Its military expanded across the South China Sea, and its voice grew louder in the halls of global diplomacy. But beneath the glow of progress lies an undercurrent of uncertainty. The balance between power and liberty, between tradition and modernity, remains fragile. The Great Firewall, censorship, and state control raise questions that echo through the digital age. Still, China endures and evolves. Its strength lies not in its armies or wealth, but in its identity, a civilization that refuses to be forgotten. From bamboo scrolls to satellites, from emperors to engineers, from walls of stone to walls of data, China's story has never been about domination, but about survival. The West may have shaped the last century, but the next one, it may belong to the East. As night falls over the Great Wall, neon lights flicker across Beijing, and 1 billion people move forward, not as conquerors, but as builders. The rise of China is not the story of a nation, but of time itself, of how history bends, breaks, and rebuilds around those who dare to rise again. Because in the heart of every Chinese city, and in the silence of every mountain temple, echoes the same ancient truth. The empire may fall, but the spirit never dies. And that is why the world can no longer look away, because the dragon isn't coming, the dragon is already here.